So this video will be my review for episode 3 of Marvel's Secret Invasion. If you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. This is a spoiler warning for Secret Invasion episode 3 on Disney+. So the main point of this episode was the Skrulls were trying to start World War III essentially by having London forces attack an American airplane, it looked like. Obviously, by the end, Nick Fury and Talos managed to thwart it, and we also find out that it seems like Nick Fury's wife, who he knows is a Skrull, they established that at the beginning of the episode, it seems like she's turned to Gravik's side, which is kind of, they explained her reasonings and stuff towards the beginning because she mourned him, he was gone in the blip, and then when he came back, he just distanced himself completely and was on Saber and stuff like that, so I'm not necessarily saying her reasoning was invalid, but if that's your husband and you're just going to automatically turn against the enemy like that, I don't know. I don't feel like she was entirely justified with what she's doing, but it is her people, so I guess it's semi-understandable, especially because it still looks like at least that she's having second thoughts about it and that she doesn't want to do whatever it is Gravik seems to want her to do, which is insinuated at the end of the episode that maybe they're going to try to get her to kill Nick or something like that. Speaking of me referring to Fury as Nick, they brought back up a point that was originally mentioned in Captain Marvel, I believe, which got him to realize that his boss was actually Talos, is that nobody calls him Nick, and I believe it was also another plot point that got brought up in Spider-Man Far From Home. At the beginning, Maria Hill refers to Nick Fury, I believe, as Nick, which insinuated from the very beginning of Far From Home that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were Skrulls the whole time, so they had this kind of exchange when they were infiltrating the house, and the Skrull was imitating Talos, but he called Fury Nick, and then that let Nick know that Talos had been compromised. Now, what's really interesting about it, because I completely forgot about this point, was that now if you go back to episode 2, and you see the interaction between War Machine Rhodey and Nick Fury, towards the very end of the conversation, Rhodey refers to him as Nick, right when he fires him. And Nick Fury's reaction right afterwards makes it seem like he's reacting that way because he's being fired. But in my opinion, I think he's reacting that way because he's realized in that moment that Rhodey is a Skrull. Now, the question is obviously going to be, if this confirms that Rhodey is a Skrull, how long has Rhodey been a Skrull for? Has it just been for like a short duration before this series or something like that? Or has Rhodey been a Skrull for a longer period of time beyond that? And I think that's going to be something that might be revealed later on in the season. And then, obviously, at the end, they have the twist with Gaia getting killed by Gravik. But I obviously don't believe that Gaia is done for the series as well. I think she's going to come back somehow. I don't necessarily know how. Maybe she is somehow caught up in the Super Skrull stuff, and maybe she already has Extremis in her, and that revives her. Because we do already see in this episode as well that Gravik, I don't know if he has all of the Super Skrull's powers, but he demonstrates the ability to heal himself with the same type of thing that Extremis was in Iron Man 3. So that insinuates that Gravik is already a Super Skrull. But so far, we've only seen him use his Extremis abilities to heal himself in the scene with Talos in this episode. So obviously, I really don't believe Gaia is dead for the whole season. And if she's not dead, then it might even insinuate that maybe Maria Hill is not dead as well. But I don't know. In my opinion, at that point, that would be too many non-permanent deaths they're using to try to trick us in this series. So that just remains to be seen. When it comes to this series so far, I do think this series is doing a good job on the suspense and the thriller and the spy type of stuff. I would say my one kind of criticism for me personally with this series is I feel like they're not showing off how good of a spy that Nick Fury can be. I feel like Nick Fury, he is an old man in the series, but I feel like they're playing him as like an old man who's been out of the game. Like, I feel like that's the angle they're playing, and I feel like he deserves a little bit more respect than that. Like, he's done a couple of cool things, like obviously the whole name thing with Nick and stuff like that, and then placing the camera on the owl in the first episode of that, I forget the woman's name, but when he went to visit her different while he was in Russia and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he's done a couple of cool spy things, but this is like Nick Fury. His backup plans should have backup plans, and it just feels like he's kind of going with the flow as it goes. It doesn't really feel to me like he's thought out a plan too much in advance and stuff like that, and it kind of just looks like he's going wherever the path takes him. So I don't know. Comment down below how you enjoyed Secret Invasion Episode 3, and if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content, and I appreciate you for watching the video.